yesterday we started graphing sinusoidal functions. We're going to focus in right now on sines and cosines, but within the next 3 weeks, you will have graphed all 6 sinusoidal functions. Okay, so we're going to focus in on sine and cosine, and then the next unit we'll focus in on the other 4. Okay? So, but we'll have those. The next unit is a quick hitter. Like we only need 2 days to do the other 4 because you have the knowledge from beforehand. Okay. Yesterday we talked about. Actually, hold on before we go on to that. Today we're going to deal with period shifts, which is B's. You do have a formative tomorrow. 2 questions with a bunch of extra stuff along with it. Okay? 8, I think it's going to be an 8-point formative tomorrow. Okay? All right? You do have a formative next week, Friday. That one will be a little bit longer. That one's actually going to be the dreaded front and back formative. Okay? Next week, Friday. And then the following Friday is the dreaded test, and that will be a front and a back and a front and a back. Okay? All right? So you've got that going on. So we're ramping you up towards the test. Okay? All right? Alrighty. So yesterday we did A's. That was the amplitude. That was in charge of how high and how low your graph goes. That was in charge of the flipness of your graph too. The positivity of that A flips that graph over or keeps it normal, and then it stretches it vertically. We also added in yesterday the vertical shift. That is a straight up. If it's +5, your graph is moved up 5 spots on the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay. Today we're going to focus in on the B value here. Okay. Now the B value is going to shift our graph, stretch our graph horizontally. But as I told my classes yesterday, start with the graph. Okay. So if you start with your graph, so if it's a sine graph, you start in the middle, you go up, you go back to the middle, you go down, you come back at the middle. Okay? If it's cosine, start up, middle, low, middle, high. Start with that graph. What B does is it takes those, yesterday I made them all blue in my classes. Okay? It takes those blue numbers along the horizontal axes and it just changes them. Yesterday we were 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Today we're not going to be. Okay? Today we could be goofy. Okay? We could be 0 because it's not Tuesday yet, so we're not horizontally shifting yet. Okay? So really, this C value right here, today we're not worried about that one at all. Okay? So we're not worried about this today at all. Okay? So we're still starting at 0, but we might go 0, then to 2 pi, then to 4 pi, then to 6 pi, and end at 8 pi. Okay? We might end at 24 pi. You just never know. Okay? Right? We might end at 2 pi over 3. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The last one today. We're going to end at 2 pi over 3. We're going to have to do some funky math to figure out what those numbers are. But we can do that because we're smart. Okay? So the horizontal stretch controls the period, which then controls the end. Okay? Start is going to be controlled on Tuesday, so we don't have to worry about that yet. But so the period, the B value controls the period, which controls the end. Now, there's one other thing that we need to talk about here in terms of the B value. And that is the positivity of the B value. If B is negative, okay? So if B is negative, from our obviosities last unit, we learned that the cosine of negative t was equal to the cosine of t. Okay? That was an obviosity that you learned. If you go in the negative direction, your cosine value doesn't change because you're going with that's along the horizontal. Okay? So because of that, if b is negative, cosine is not, oops, changed. Okay? So cosine is not changed on a negative b value. But the other obviosity that we learned way back then was that the sine of negative t is negative sine of t, which if we have a negative b value now, that makes it be a negative a value. So now the sine function would flip. Which begs the question, if you have a negative a value and a negative b value, and it's a sine function, okay? The trifecta, negative a, negative b, and it's a sine function. So the sine function would flip for the negative a, and it would flip again for the negative b, so it's just back to normal. Okay? Right? So those two negatives would then cancel each other out. Okay? Questions on that? So negative b just flips the sign. Okay? This right here is so important, I think we need to get a little creative with it. This right here, oops, I gotta erase now a little bit right around here so we can see it. There, okay? The period, so the length of your period, which is the horizontal distance that it takes to make one lap, is equal to 2 pi divided by the absolute value of b. Okay? So you take the absolute value of b and you divide 2 pi by it, and that gives you that length of the period, which for today, Tuesday it'll be different, which for today is also your end value because we're starting at 0. Okay? Let's try one. So we have the sine of 2x. Okay? Let's go with what we know first. Tell me something that you already know about the sine of 2x. The domain is all real numbers. Correct. Tell me something else that you know. The amplitude is 1, because that's the coefficient out in front. So that's this one right here. So my amplitude is 1. Yes. What else? The period is 2. The period is not 2. No? So where's my middle? How do you know that? Nothing, there's no d value. Yep, so there's nothing out here. So my middle is 0, which then puts my high at 1, low at -1. Range is -1 to positive. Yes. Okay. Right? Where do we start? It's not Tuesday yet, so we start at 0. Okay? Now, we have to do a little figuring here, gabs. Okay? So my period we just learned was equal to 2 pi divided by b, right? And what is my b value? 2. So 2 pi divided by 2 is pi. So my period is actually pi. Okay? All right? Sine starts middle, up, down, ends back in the middle. Went a little too far in the down, but that's okay. I'm over it. Agree? Vertically, we went all the way up to 1. The middle was 0. We went all the way down to -1. Would you agree with that? Horizontally, we started at 0. We ended at pi. Agree with me on that? Which means halfway would be pi over 2. Halfway there would be pi over 4. Yep, you are correct. Be confident. And the average of those two, or halfway between pi over 2 and pi, 3 pi over 4. Yep. And there's your graph. Again, on your formative tomorrow, you will get 1 point for the shape of your wave. You will get 1 point for the labeling of your graph. You will get half of a point for each of the 4 things of the 9 that we asked you about. Okay? On 2 problems. Makes 8 points. Good? All right, let's try another one. Cosine, 1/3 x. Give me a known. What do we know? Domain is all real numbers. Give me another known. Amplitude is 1. Another known. My high is 1. Low is? Middle is? One more last known, because it's not Tuesday. Starts at 0. Okay. Okay. So my period then is going to be 2 pi divided by 1/3. What is 2 pi divided by 1/3? 6 pi? Yep, it is 6 pi. So my period is 6 pi, and my end is 6 pi. Okay. Cosine curve starts where? High, high, middle, low, middle, high. Vertically, 1, 0, and -1. Bad 0 again. It's twice on this slide I gave a bad 0 there. Horizontally, 0 goes all the way out to 6 pi. Halfway to 6 pi is 3 pi. Halfway to 3 pi is Can we say it as 3 pi over 2? Yeah? Because we like fractions. Yeah? Okay? Halfway between 3 pi and 6 pi. Or one might say the average of 3 pi and 6 pi. How do we average things? Add them and divide by 2, right? Okay, so 3 pi plus 6 pi, 9 pi divided by 2, 9 pi over 2. Okay. Those middle 3 are all just averages. The middle is the average of the start and the end. Okay? The left middle is the average of the start and the middle. The right middle and the end. Yes, ma'am?
So do we ever use any?
Not anymore. Nope, not anymore. You can, by all means, you still can. Okay? But remember that big chart we made yesterday? You don't have to do that anymore. Okay? Yep. Ready to try one on your own? Yeah? Try it. So we've got a negative b value with a sign that is a flip. Okay? If it were with cosine, it wouldn't flip. Okay? And so then we've got a sine function that looks like that. It goes up to positive 1. It goes down to negative 1. It starts at 0. It ends at 4 pi, which means then that the halfway point is 2 pi. The halfway of the halfway would be pi, and the other average would be 3 pi. Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications? Okay. Try that one. All real numbers for the domain. My amplitude is 3. My middle is 0, which means it goes up to 3, down to negative 3. Starting at 0. Ending at 4 pi. We got a sine, no negatives anywhere, so that's a normal sine curve. Up, whoa. Got all jazzed up, forgot that it's 3s. Started at 0. ending at 4 pi. Good? Yeah? All right. Try a couple more. Domain is all real numbers. My amplitude is 3. My middle is 2. So that puts my high value at 5 and my low value at -1. Good so far. Okay. Starting at 0 because it's not Tuesday yet. My period is 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is going to be 4 pi. However, we have a caution because we have a negative, but because it is cosine nothing. Oops, let's say, instead of saying nothing, oops, come on now. Let's say false alarm. Okay. So it doesn't flip it at all. It keeps it normal. Okay. So that means my cosine then would start up high, come low, end back at the high point. In terms of, this would be 5, this would be -1, and my middle in here would be at 2. So if I'm putting in a solid line, that axis would go down here. It wouldn't go at the 2 because the 2 is not the x-axis. Horizontally, we started at 0. We ended at 4 pi. Halfway was 2 pi. Halfway would be pi, and halfway would be 3 pi. And notice they are not where the curve, where the wave intersects the x-axis, because we're not at that point. Okay? Try that one. Boom! Domain, all real numbers. Amplitude is 2. The middle is 2, which makes my high value be 4, my low value be 0. My range then goes from 0 to 4 inclusive. It's not Tuesday, so we're still starting at 0. Okay? But now my period is going to be 2 pi divided by 3. So that's going to actually be then my period.
You did the right thing.
It is a negative sine curve. So that means we are going to start in the middle. Down, up, down.
Just gave me the biggest stink eye.
My horizontal axis can actually go right down there at the bottom, because that's where it is. 0, 2, and 4 there. 0, 2 pi over 3 there. Halfway then would be pi over 3. Do we agree with that? Halfway would then be pi over 6. Do we agree with that? Okay? Then the average, 1 pi over 3 plus 2 pi's over 3 makes 3 pi's over 3, which reduces just to pi. I'm going to make this as my pi symbol. Okay? And pi divided by 2 is pi over 2. Or pi over 3 if you want it to be. And then you got 2 pi over 3's on it. It just happens. Okay? Right? Now, I will tell you this. You will only get more and more efficient and better at these if you do these. Okay? Right? So you should be, after today, so before class tomorrow, you should be through number 9 in your homework packet.
Number 9.
Okay? Alright? When you came in today, you should have had the first 3 done. So really, you should only have 6 more to do. Okay?
I mean, these are like numbers.
You got the rest of the time.
I just can't look yourself.